Salt is formed when an acid reacts with a base. In this reaction, hydrogen of acid reacts with hydroxide of base to form water, H2O. And the metal ion of base reacts with the negative part of acid to form salt. As in this reaction, acid and base neutralizes each other, and both the products formed are neutral. So this reaction is called neutralization. So it's actually a reaction between hydrogen ion of acid and hydroxide ion of base. If there are equal amounts of hydrogen and hydroxide ions, they completely neutralizes each other, and the salt formed as a result is normal salt. On the other hand, if there are unequal amounts of hydrogen ions and hydroxide ions, they cannot completely neutralize each other. Hence, neutralization in this case is partial. We are always left with extra hydrogen ion or hydroxide ion, and that leftover hydrogen and hydroxide becomes the part of salt. Hence, salt formed as a result of partial neutralization would be either acidic or basic salt. On the basis of either complete or partial neutralization, there are three types of salts: acid salt, basic salt, and normal salt. If we are reacting 1 mole of each HCl and NaOH, there are equal amounts of hydrogen and hydroxide, which completely neutralizes each other to form H2O, while sodium ion and chloride ion reacts to form salt NaCl. This salt is formed as a result of complete neutralization and does not contain any hydrogen or hydroxide in it. Hence, it's a normal salt. Similarly, if we react 1 mole of sulfuric acid with 2 moles of sodium hydroxide, again, there are equivalent amounts of hydrogen and hydroxides, which completely neutralizes to form 2 moles of water. While sodium of base and sulfate of acid reacts to form normal salt, sodium sulfate, which does not contain any hydrogen or hydroxide. Now, the next type of salt is acidic salt. Let's take an example. 1 mole carbonic acid reacts with 1 mole sodium hydroxide. Now here, unequal amounts of hydrogen and hydroxides are present. There are 2 hydrogens while just 1 hydroxide. Out of these, only 1 hydrogen and hydroxide neutralizes each other to form water. Sodium ion of base replaces only 1 hydrogen of acid, and 1 hydrogen is still left, and that leftover hydrogen becomes the part of salt. As this salt is formed as a result of partial neutralization, and it still contains a replaceable hydrogen. So, due to the presence of this replaceable hydrogen, this salt is acidic in nature. Similarly, phosphoric acid contains 3 replaceable hydrogens. It can form 2 types of acidic salt. Firstly, if we react 1 mole of each phosphoric acid and sodium hydroxide, there are 3 hydrogens while just 1 hydroxide. Out of these, only 1 hydrogen and hydroxide neutralizes each other to form water. Sodium ion of base replaces only 1 hydrogen of acid, while 2 hydrogens are still left. The leftover hydrogens becomes the part of salt. So the salt formed is NaH2PO4, and it contains 2 replaceable hydrogens, hence acidic salt. But when we react 1 mole phosphoric acid with 2 moles of sodium hydroxide, there are 3 hydrogens while just 2 hydroxides. Out of these, 2 hydrogens and 2 hydroxides reacts to form 2 moles of water. 2 sodium ions of base replaces 2 hydrogen atoms of acid, and 1 hydrogen atom is still left, which becomes part of salt. So the salt formed has formula NaHPO4, and it contains replaceable hydrogen, hence acidic in nature. Now, moving towards the third type of salt, that is basic salt. Let's take an example in which HCl reacts with zinc hydroxide which is a polyhydroxy base. Poly means many, hydroxy stands for OH group. So, polyhydroxy bases are those which contain more than one OH groups. There is one hydrogen, while two hydroxides. Out of these, hydrogen and one hydroxide neutralizes each other to form water, while zinc and chloride reacts to form salt. There is one hydroxide still left in base, which becomes the part of salt. So, the salt forms as a result is zinc hydroxychloride. This salt is formed by the partial neutralization of a base, and it still contains one replaceable OH group. The presence of replaceable OH group makes it basic in nature. Let's take another example in which acetic acid reacts with lead hydroxide, which is also a polyhydroxy base. There is one hydrogen while two hydroxides. Out of these, one hydrogen and one hydroxide neutralizes each other to form water, while lead of base and acetate of acid reacts to form salt. There is still one hydroxide left in base, which becomes the part of salt. The salt formed is lead hydroxyacetate, which contains a replaceable OH group, hence basic in nature. Here is a list of some salts. Which of these is acidic salt, which is basic, and which one is normal? Drop your answer in the comment section below. And be sure not to miss out more informative stuff only on Chem Therapy.